The first piece of that is I want to give you some more string methods. And we've talked about string methods like is numeric. We've talked about um, uppercase or right justify, left justify. Those are all string methods that we've used. Remember, a string method belongs to the string object, so it starts with a string object and then it has a dot and then something after that. Okay, so when we talk about string methods, we're talking about things that belong to a string that you can do. Remember also that a string method does not typically do anything to the original string. Instead, it returns the product of the function, but leaves the original string intact. So you usually have to do something with whatever is returned by a string method. So the first one I want to talk about is split. This is foundational. It is used all the time. I have used this in probably 80% of all of the programs I've written in the last 20 years. It's extremely useful. And what it allows you to do is take a string and turn it into a list of things. The most common thing to do is to take a string and split it into individual words. So what you give it is what you start with is a string. What you end up with is an array where each item in the array is a word. And the way it knows that is that its default separator, it's an optional argument. You can call split just like this with no arguments, and it will split whatever string you give it on white space. So tabs, spaces, line breaks, that sort of thing. You can split on anything you want, and I'm going to give you an example of that in just a moment. But the default separator is white space. You can also tell it how many times you want it to split. So if you want it to just split on the first thing it finds that matches that, and then return a 2-item array, you can do that too. And there are use cases for that. A lot of the time, though, we're just taking an array and we're just breaking it down into a list so we can do more stuff with it. So an example of this is if I have a string that says like, welcome to Bakersfield College Python. Okay, so this is my string. And if I want to split that, I can assign it to an array, maybe called array words. And I will do strtext.split, no arguments. And then I'm just going to print that out. I'm going to print out the resulting array so we can see what it looks like. So if I run that, what I get is an array full of words. Then I can do things to each word, or I can process each word independently, and that's useful. And I can also do things, if I'm training AI, I can also do things like find out what words are commonly seen next to each other. For example, Bakersfield and college are often seen together, right? So I can start to form associations with that. But I could also do things like remove certain words, or maybe figure out how many times a word is repeated, or I can do all kinds of things with it. Really, it's a very, very useful tool. I can also, of course, iterate through that with a for loop for str word in AR words. So for each member of this, I'm going to assign it in turn to str word and then print the word out. Str word, and let's make it all uppercase. Okay, so there is my shouting message, but you can see it prints each one individually, all uppercase. So you can do things like that. I could right justify them if I wanted it to be fancy. If I print it now I right justify them and they're lined up on the right hand side. So you can do things with these words in a for loop as well because it's an array. So that is split.